Oh, everybody's here, all 31 of you. That's amazing. Thank you guys. I feel the love. All right, so Italian articles, why are they so difficult? Well, before we get into the articles, something that a beginner has to deal with is the fact that Italian words have gender. By words, I mean both nouns and adjectives, meaning a noun is a thing and an adjective is a quality. So in Italian, everything. For example, the word pizza has a gender, which is feminine, and anything that I say about the pizza, whether it's good, red, whatever, Italian, has to be feminine. So you have to always remember that everything you talk about has gender. Now, gender is confusing because how do you know what gender something is? That's problem number one. There is no real solution that works all the time, but the best solution is to look at the ending of the word that you are dealing with. Now, because the adjective has to reflect the noun, we want to kind of always look for the noun, like as in the thing that we're talking about. So, if the word ends with o, you can be almost sure that it's a singular masculine. Do you have an example of a word that is singular masculine? Write it down and I'll keep going because of the delay. If the word ends with a, you can be almost always sure that it's a feminine word. There are exceptions, obviously. But for example, pizza, like I said, it's feminine. Now, the good thing is that if the word is masculine and it ends with o, you can almost guess that the plural is going to end with e. If the word is feminine and it ends with a, then you can be sure that the plural is going to be with e. So it's hard, but it's not that difficult. So okay, let's pick ragazzo. That was suggested. Actually, I'll pick sugo. The reason I'm picking sugo is that sugo is a noun, so it talks about sauce. A noun will not change gender because that's the gender of the sauce and it's just masculine, so you can't change it. So sugo, meaning one sauce, so it would be sugi if it was sauces. Now, ragazzo is a good example because it's a word that actually has a feminine and a masculine gender, but that's because it talks about people and people have gender. So I don't want to use it in this example. Okay, cielo, sky. So plural would be cieli, skies. Okay. Now, adjectives do the same. So bello, that was suggested by Nadia. Bello. The beauty of an adjective is that it can be also the other gender because it depends on what's describing. So bello would become bella for feminine, belli for plural masculine. For example, ragazzi belli, ragazze belle, and so on. So this lesson is not about the gender, but you have to have the gender right in your head before you can use the articles. Because that's the thing, when you get to the articles, it's a mess. Because there's so many. I teach them in a different way from most other teachers and most books. Let me see if I can fit it all in. There you go. Okay, so articles. You have to pick the article that means the to match the gender and the number of the noun that you're talking about. Here's a little tricky because in English you might say the good ice cream. So the word for good is buono and the word for ice cream is gelato. So you might say, I picked the article based on what? Based on buono or based on gelato? You have to pick the article based on gelato, the noun. That is why in Italian you will find that the noun comes first most of the times. So while in English you say the good ice cream, or the tasty ice cream, probably better, in Italian we'll say the ice cream tasty. because we want to put the noun first and close to the article. Okay, you following? All right, so gelato. What would the article be for gelato? Now, here's how I teach it. If the word is masculine and singular, you want to use il. So don't think too much. You want to be quick with stuff like this. You don't want to have to think too much. I mean, there's going to be other things that will require a lot of processing power while you're speaking Italian. Don't make the articles something that you think too much about. So if it's masculine and you can guess that it's masculine because it ends with O, you're going to use il. Il. So, panino, il panino. Biscotto, il biscotto. Gelato, il gelato. So whatever word you hear and you know that you want to use, and it's masculine because it ends with O, use il. If it's plural, meaning it ends with I, you're going to use I to mean the. So you're going to say I gelati, I panini, I ragazzi. You don't want to think too much about this. Okay? So what are the other ones? Because there's so many more. We don't worry about them. Meaning, Italian changes the article to make the word easier to pronounce. So while it's complicated for you because there's more articles than there is in Spanish or French, it's actually done to help you. So imagine the word, look at the second article, lo. It's used for when the word starts with S plus consonant, X, Y, Z, N, Y, Ps, any combination of difficult sounds to pronounce. They're difficult because there's many consonants in those sounds. When you say Z, that's only a single consonant. No, that's two, because when you say, there's two ways of pronouncing Z, and it's S, like TS, or Z, like DS. Either way, it's a strong sound. Imagine if you had to say a word like straniero. Straniero, I'm going to type it in the chat, okay? If you were to say straniero, which means stranger, foreigner, and you had to use il, which is the standard masculine article, you would end up with il straniero. Now, I could pronounce it because I paused, but you never pause between the article and the noun. You wouldn't say the stranger. You have to say it together. And that's the problem. When you say it together, you end up with LSTR. Four consonant sounds. Italian hates that. Italian wants vowels, as many vowels as possible. So instead of saying il straniero, which would be difficult to say, or other words, for example, another word that would be difficult, let's say zenzero. Zenzero means ginger. Again, it would be hard to say il zenzero because you would have l and z together and they're difficult sounds. Lz is quite difficult for Italian. You want to have vowels. So how do you put a vowel? You just sneak in an O. So you end up saying lo zenzero. You are creating an extra syllable, thus making it easy for yourself. Lo zenzero, lo straniero. Instead of having an article that ends with l, which is difficult to pronounce when you have another bunch of consonants afterwards, we make it easier. So when you look at the chart, lo is for those difficult situations. Whenever the word uses lo in the singular, it will use ye in the plural. So it's the same rules. So for example, let's say we had the word zenzeri, which we would never say the gingers. We don't refer to red hair people as ginger in Italian, so it doesn't work. But let's say we had to say zenzeri. We would have to say gli zenzeri. Okay, let's go with stranieri. I'm typing in the chat in case you don't know what I'm saying. Stranieri, we would say gli stranieri. Not I stranieri. Again, why? Well, because I is quite a quick sound to say. So in order for an Italian to hear that you're talking about the strangers, you need to create a stronger article in that situation so that you can hear it. Anyway, there's one more article for masculine because, you know, man, we are complicated. And it's L apostrophe. We need to use L apostrophe when the word is masculine, but it starts with a vowel, as simple as that. Amico. Somebody before, no, actually I won't do it now. I think it's in the test, so I can't tell you. So amico, how would I say the friend? Armadio, Italiano. How would we say the friend, the wardrobe, the Italian? Amico would have to be l'amico. Esatto, Mark. L'amico. Armadio would have to be l'armadio. E italiano has to be l'italiano. Why? Because l'italiano sounds silly. So Italian articles are made so that the sound is pleasant. Yes, l'armadio, okay? So if we were going plural, like El Sassi said, it's gli amici. So how would you say the wardrobes? If you're confused, look at the chart. Why does L apostrophe uses ye as the article in the plural? Simply because L apostrophe doesn't actually exist as an article, and that's my kind of revolutionary way of teaching the articles in Italian. I say that the standard article is il, and if the word is weird, then you use lo. But then, what happens if I use lo? Now, you know Italian probably enough, or maybe not, to judge that those three words would sound kind of silly. Lo amico, lo armadio, and lo italiano. Why do they sound strange? I mean, maybe they don't sound strange to you. I mean, it depends on how much Italian you've heard. But if you heard enough Italian, you actually know that it sounds strange. Why? Because it's a lot quicker to say l'amico, l'armadio, l'italiano than it is to say lo amico. Why? Because two vowels are confusing in Italian. One vowel after the other confuses Italians. So, L apostrophe is nothing but lo that has lost the O and therefore has left an apostrophe. So basically, Italian articles for masculine are just two for the singular and two for the plural. It's il and lo. L apostrophe, you just do it naturally when the word has a vowel. And then we move on to the feminine, which is very easy. It's la if the word is singular, la ragazza, la pizza, la casa, and it's le if it's plural. Le ragazze, le amiche, le case, right? And again, L apostrophe doesn't even worry you because L apostrophe in the feminine is nothing other than la that has lost the a and has left an apostrophe for the same reason as it does in the masculine. La amica sounds silly. La amica sounds cool. La insalata sounds silly. L'insalata sounds cool. Okay? And therefore, the plural of L apostrophe is le, simply because L apostrophe is already the same, it's la. So don't think that there's really 7 articles in Italian. Try and think that there's a few less. It's il or I, or lo or ye for masculine, and it's la and le for feminine. And then when the word starts with a vowel, you'll know what to do. Okay? But let's see if you really know what to do. I'm going to test you. And before I can do it, I have to, because that's not how I set up the software, because it decided not to work, but I can make it work. I've made it work so far. Perfect. I have to make it smaller so that it fits. Give me a minute. Okay. All right, so we are going to do a game. Hold on. I don't think you can see the whole thing. Hopefully you can see the whole thing. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, so to play this game, you have to open a new tab and you have to go to www, as we say in Italian, .menti.com. M-E-N-T-I. Menti.com. And enter the code that it's up there, so 97720. So I'll wait for you guys to go to menti.com and enter 97720. And then we'll play a game. Everybody is welcome to play. If you're not a beginner, you might win. So it's up to you whether you want to play. I think everybody should play because it's really fun. Hopefully it works. I've never done this before, but I plan to do this a lot. You're now going to see the questions, look at your phone, and hopefully this will go smoothly. What I'm going to do, because I don't know how much the delay is right now, it may have kind of accumulated, I will read the question. So go with the sound. When you hear my question, start thinking about the answer so that when you see it, you can click on the answer that you think is right, okay? Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, forgive me, but at least we tried. All right. So look at your phone. The word is pavimento. Pavimento. So there are 6 options and you'll have to select the right one. What I'll do is, since I like to teach you, I'll get you to think. So pavimento, what gender do you think it is? Once you think you know the gender, then you have to ask yourself, do I have any reason to not use the standard article? So meaning, does the word start with a vowel? No. Does the word start with Z, S plus another consonant, X, Y, any of those horrible combinations? The answer is no, so what article are you going to use? Okay, everyone has voted. The answer is il. Because of all the reasoning that I've done, I think that's the only way I can make the game work. I'll do my reasoning while you're still answering, because otherwise this is going to last way too long. Oh. Pentola. Now, pentola is the next question. Pentola. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know. Are you voting for pentola? I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe this one didn't work. I'm so sorry. Okay, pentola. What gender do you think it is? Okay. Is it singular or plural? Okay. Do I have any reason to not use the standard article? And then the answer would be la, obviously. Let me see if the next one is going to... Okay. Well, I don't know why the second question didn't work, but I've got the third question. And the word is strada. Strada. If you're not able to vote, it's because you started the stream after you started, so your delay is more than the 30 seconds that everybody has. That's why. So I'm sorry for that. But if you have a real live stream, then you are good to play. Now, strada. The right answer is la. It's feminine. How? Why? Because it ends with a. But then, once you have the gender, you have to ask yourself, is it singular or plural? Now, if it was plural, it would end with e. Go back to the chart that I'm sorry you don't have. But, so it's feminine and it's singular. There is one article for feminine words that are singular, and it's la. It could be L apostrophe if the word starts with a vowel, but this one doesn't, okay? So let's move on to the next one. Ready, everybody? Look at your screen. The word is zaino. I know you can't say it yet because of the delay. Actually, no, my sound is as delayed as the voice. Zaino, that's a tricky one. 18 of you have voted. 19 of you have voted. Zaino, so is it masculine or feminine? It's masculine. So all of you had that it's masculine. And it's singular. Now, masculine singular has three options. It's il, it's lo, or it's L apostrophe. Now, L apostrophe is not going to work because it's only for vowels. Also, it would be very hard to say il zaino. In Italian, we want vowels. Think of the words that you know, like cappuccino. Let's think of the word like fettuccine. Any word that you know, you hear that there's a bunch of vowels. That's what we want in Italian. So for the same reason, we're not going to use il, because we would have to say il zaino. It's really hard to say L followed by z in Italian. And that's why the answer is lo zaino. Good. Okay. The next word is xylofono. I just realized what's happening. You see, I don't know what happens actually. Xylofono, that's a tricky one. Always go through the same questions. What gender is it? Once you think you know the gender, then you ask yourself, is it plural or is it singular? Once you know that it's masculine singular, what article works for words that have a strong beginning? Lo. Gli and le would be for plurals. Xylofono is not a plural because it ends with o. Italian words are not plural when they end with o, they're singular. Pretty much always with 2 or 3 exceptions, okay? So o means that it's singular. Because it's singular, we can't use gli or le, but we can't use il either because say il xylofono. It's a lot easier to separate the il from xylofono and say lo xylofono. That's an instrument. Perfetto. Now this one is a tricky one. Zanzare. Does it end with o or a? It doesn't, so it's probably not singular. If it's not singular, it's plural. What words have a plural in e? waiting on a few more people to vote. Zanzare, okay? One more person to vote, I think, unless they've left, I don't know. Okay, zanzare. It's feminine plural. If you know that it's not singular, you can assume that it's plural, and if it ends with e, feminine words have the plural in e. So the answer is le. Perfetto. One more. Scarpone. Now, hold on, don't vote, hold on, that's a tricky one because there's something I haven't told you. Don't vote, hold on. This one is tricky. Because in Italian we have a bunch of words that actually end with e in the singular. And these are the hardest words to guess because you don't really know the gender unless you know the gender. Meaning, somebody told you, you heard it with few adjectives next to it, so you actually know the gender of the word because you looked it up. But scarpone is one of those. It could be a feminine plural, but in this case, it isn't. It is actually a singular. And being singular, that was a tricky one because my intention was to explain this during the game so that the lesson would be shorter, but now it's already been an hour. But scarpone, it's masculine and singular. The only way you could guess, like I said, is that you learned it or you heard somebody talk about scarpone. Scarpone bianco. If you hear scarpone bianco, now you know that it's a trekking shoe, like it's like a boot. Scarpone bianco. Now you know that it's singular because you heard bianco. So lo scarpone is the trekking shoe. I know I tricked you because I didn't teach you this before. But that was planned. Alright, let's move on. We're halfway through. Try not to finish this too late. Armadio. Armadio. How does armadio go with articles? Armadio, so, is it masculine or is it feminine? You probably know what gender it is. Is it singular or is it plural? Well, you know what gender it is or what number it is. It looks quite singular to me. So, if you know that it's that gender, use the standard article for that gender unless there are reasons not to use the standard article. And there is a reason not to use the standard article here. Right? And the reason being that it starts with a vowel. Please be 100%. No, guys, almost. L'armadio. It's masculine, so you all had that it's masculine. As a reminder, lo is actually right. But lo ends with a vowel and armadio starts with a vowel, so we shorten to L apostrophe. That's why L apostrophe is right and lo isn't. But it was, in theory, right. Il doesn't work for words that start with a vowel. But the gender was right. Masculine. Oh, armadi. While you figure that out, just a little announcement. To vote, you have to go to www.menti.com and enter the code that it says up there, 97720. The problem that you are finding, if you cannot vote, it's because you're not watching a real live stream, you may have started your stream a little bit later. So while this is still live for everybody, you are a few minutes behind, and therefore voting has closed for the questions, so you cannot participate. But you can still play and, you know, find out the answers by yourself. Okay, so armadi. Armadi, how are you going with armadi? We saw this before and we knew that it was masculine. So this is still masculine because nouns don't change the gender, so it's still masculine. And it's ye because it's plural and it starts with a vowel. So for plural we usually use e unless we have an exception, in which case we have to use ye. A vowel is an exception, so we gotta use ye. It's good. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's how you're going to get this and, you know, not make mistakes in the future. You want to get the articles as automated as much as you can in your brain. So do this. Do this game. Elefante. Elefante. Here's another one. It ends with e. But do you think it means elephants or does it mean elephant? Because if it means elephant, then it's singular. And if it's singular, bummer. You don't know what gender it is because it doesn't end with a clear o or a clear a. So now you're in trouble because it's a singular word, because it means elephant, that we don't know the gender of and we can't really guess. So that's when you go to your trusty dictionary and you ask, what gender is elefante? And that will help you. In this case, we don't really care. Why we don't care? Whether it's masculine or feminine, there's only one possible article. Once you know that it's singular, there's only one possible article, isn't there? And it's l'apostrophe. L'elefante. L'elefante, the elephant. Perfetto. Vika, you're winning, I think. Sorry, I've never played the game. All right. Elefanti. Hoo-hoo. So what do you think this means? Do you think it means elephants or elephant? Well, it means elephants because you worked it out from the previous question. But even if you didn't work it out from the previous question because you didn't see the question, it ends with e. E words are plural. But it's essential that you know the gender before you can play with the word. So it's plural, but is it plural masculine or feminine? I do my reasoning out loud because that's what I want you to be having in your brain, you know, as a beginner. I want you to analyze the words and so that you can get the right article all the time. Gli elefanti. Why is it ye? It's masculine, it's plural, so we have two options, e or ye. Now, E is not even an option in the game, so we couldn't have picked E. But even if it was there, it's not the right one because elefanti, yes, it's masculine, yes, it's plural, but it starts with an exception, meaning a vowel, S plus consonant, Z, Y, you know, all those ones. So yeah, elefanti has an exception, so we have to use ye. Perfetto. Falò, tricky one because I'm meant to teach you this one. Falò. In Italian, words that end with an accent, with a written accent, they stay the same in the plural. So this could be, it's one of these things. Falò is a bonfire, but that word could mean one bonfire or two bonfires. It's really up to the to the context and the way you want to treat the word. So if you think it's singular, what article are you going to use? If you think it's plural, what article are you going to use? But the question is, what gender is it? Try and guess. Try and guess. Perfetto. Two possible answers. It was either the bonfire, one, or the bonfires, two, or many. Either way, it's a masculine word, so we have to use il because the standard article for masculine words is il. Lo is for only exceptions. What are the exceptions again? Starts with a vowel, follow doesn't start with a vowel. Starts with S plus consonant, follow doesn't do that. Starts with Z, X, Y, N, Y. None of those cases, so follow is not really an exception. Now, if you thought that follow was plural, again, it's E and not ye because follow is not an exception. Perfetto. We're getting close to the end. Città. Here's another word that has a written accent on it. So this means that this word could be one or many cities or city. So your answer will depend on whether you think it's the city or the cities. What gender do you think it is? Is it an exception? Or is it just a standard masculine or feminine word, whatever you think? I think it's a standard word because the exceptions are always the vowel, S consonant, and so on. And they only apply to masculine anyway. I mean, the vowel applies to feminine as well. But let's see what you guys think of this one. I think you're learning a lot. Oh, yes. 100% right. You guys rock. That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you now. Perfect. Yes, two answers. It could be la città or le città. It's feminine. It could be singular or plural because it ends with a and an accent. And it's not an exception. It doesn't start with a vowel. Perfect. Bravissimi. Studenti. Careful with this one. What gender is it? Is it plural? I think it looks plural. Is it an exception? Do we have to worry about there being an exception? That depends on the gender. If you think it's masculine, then you have to worry about the exceptions. Now, it doesn't start with a vowel, so we know it's not L apostrophe, which is also not an option in the game today, in this one. But what article would work for studenti? Do you think it means student or students? Let's put it that way. Knowing what you know about plurals in Italian, it ends with an E. It's a plural, isn't it? It's students. But again, if we don't know the gender, gli studenti. Esatto, gli studenti. It could not be la because that would have made it feminine and singular, and to be feminine and singular, it has to end with a. And that one doesn't. I, it's right gender and it's right number, but studenti starts with S plus consonant, so it's one of those exceptions. I try to explain why you didn't get it right, otherwise it doesn't help, right? If I don't tell you. Finally, the last question. Carne. Here's another tricky one. If you know what it means meat. Now, do you think it's meat or meats? I think it's meat, right? So it's singular. If it's singular and it ends with e, we don't know what gender it is. So we have to look it up. We have to go to a dictionary, we have to ask a friend, or we have to look at the word carne with an adjective afterwards. Like red, as in red meat. I'm not going to say, actually I'm going to say because you probably already voted, carne rossa. We say carne rossa for red meat. Carne rossa. Carne bianca for white meat. La carne. Now this one, I think you did well because you picked il or la because you thought it was singular and you didn't think there was any need to use the exception articles like lo and ye. So you did well. The thing is that you didn't get the gender right, but that's really what is difficult about these words. And Mark Salamon, hai vinto, you won, because you got a ton of points. Okay, let me come back to the camera so I can greet you goodbye. Ok, sono tornato, ragazzi. I hope you had fun and I hope you learned something. I also hope I learned something about technology and maybe try and keep it more simple. I want to do these things. I want to show you the slides. I want to show you the games. But if technology is so difficult, wow. Anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Grazie mille. Whatever got, there's a class in 12 hours. Well, by now it's like probably 10 hours. I don't know. Check what it is. How do you find out? If you go to the channel's homepage, before you see all the videos, you will see the upcoming events. So there's an event scheduled for 12 hours from now. Let me see if I can tell you what it is. And it's going to be, I can't remember. I'm trying to... Oh, I don't know. It's not there. Anyway, YouTube is not helping either. So, but yeah, there is an event in 12 hours or whatever it is. Like, check soon. Check. I'll find out what's going on. But yeah, grazie mille. And if you have questions, always put your questions underneath the videos and my assistant will spot questions and pass them over to me. That doesn't mean I'll be able to answer them, but I do plan to do Q&A once a week, and the Q&A are going to be in English so that you understand. Live classes for complete beginners where I explain things will also be in English, but I will do content for beginners in Italian like I have done already this week. So if you haven't seen it, go back. There's a class for beginner that was fully in Italian. So we'll try and mix it. Now, for intermediate and advanced students, only Italian. You can't get away from that. But yeah, grazie mille ragazzi. È stato un piacere vedervi. Great pleasure to see you. And I will see you very soon after I go to bed and I wake up. Ciao ciao.